Look in a mirror. There you are. You know, instantly, effortlessly, without even trying, that the face looking back is you. Not another person, not a stranger. You. It's such a simple thing that you never think about it, but it's actually one of the strangest abilities in all of nature, because it means you know something enormous. You know that you exist. You are a you, a someone. Now look at your dog, or your cat, or a cow standing in a field, chewing, staring at nothing. Do they know that? Does your dog know it's a dog, a separate being, a me moving through the world? Or is it all just happening, with nobody really home to notice? For most of human history, we had a comfortable answer. Obviously not. Animals are automatic, instinct machines. We're the special ones, the only creatures who truly know they're here. But over the last 50 years, scientists actually started testing that assumption. And what they found is far stranger, far blurrier, and, in a couple of cases, genuinely unsettling. By the end of this, a tiny fish is going to make you question what knowing you exist even means. Stick around. Let's get into it. So, how do you even ask an animal a question like this? You can't exactly sit a goat down and say, "Hey, are you aware that you're you?" It has no way to answer, and you have no way to check. For a long time, this made the whole question feel unanswerable. Then, in 1970, a psychologist named Gordon Gallup came up with a genuinely clever trick. The mirror. Most animals, seeing a mirror for the first time, treat the reflection as another animal. They try to fight it, greet it, or they get bored and ignore it. But a few animals do something completely different. They figure out that the reflection is them. So Gallup built a test to prove it. While the animal is asleep, researchers put a mark, a dot of odorless dye, somewhere it can't see. Its forehead, say. Then they show it a mirror. If the animal sees the mark in the reflection and reaches up to touch the mark on its own body, not the mirror, its actual body, that's the giveaway. It understands the thing in the glass is itself. It has, in that moment, recognized itself. And scientists treat that as a flicker of something huge. Self-awareness. So, who's in this exclusive club? Who can look in a mirror and recognize themselves? You, obviously. But not always. Human babies fail the mirror test for the first year and a half of life. Somewhere around 18 to 24 months, a toddler suddenly gets it, reaches for the smudge on their own forehead, and joins the club. Before that, they're just thrilled by the cute baby in the glass. After us, the usual suspects, our closest relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, the great apes pass, though even among chimps, only about 3/4 of healthy young adults reliably do it. Then it starts getting surprising. Bottlenose dolphins pass. They'll twist and contort in front of a mirror to see a mark they otherwise couldn't. Asian elephants pass. One elephant named Happy repeatedly touched a white X painted above her eye, but only while looking in the mirror. And then the whole thing breaks. Because in 2008, a bird passed. A Eurasian magpie, a member of the crow family, spotted a colored sticker on its own throat feathers in a mirror and tried to scratch it off. This was a genuine shock. Scientists had assumed self-recognition required a neocortex, the wrinkly outer brain layer that mammals have, and birds simply don't. The magpie didn't have the right brain for the job. It passed anyway. Now, before your ego gets too comfortable, most animals fail this test completely. Dogs, cats, most monkeys, your average pet, they look in the mirror and see a rival, a buddy, or nothing worth caring about. If you've ever watched a cat lose a heated staring contest with itself, you've seen a creature with no idea it's looking at its own face. Which feels like a pretty clear answer. They don't know they exist. Except that answer is almost certainly wrong. And here's why. The mirror test has a massive blind spot. It assumes that seeing is how you know the world, that vision is the doorway to identity. For you, and apes, and dolphins, that's true. For a huge number of animals, it isn't even close. Take your dog. A dog's world isn't built out of sights, it's built out of smells. a sense somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 times sharper than yours. When your dog stops to sniff every lamppost, it's not being gross, it's reading. That's the neighborhood news, the local social network, an entire layer of the world you literally cannot perceive. So asking a dog to recognize itself in a visual mirror is like asking you to recognize yourself by smell. You'd fail, not because you don't know you exist, but because we picked the wrong sense. A cognitive scientist named Alexandra Horowitz realized this and built a better test, an olfactory mirror. Instead of a reflection, she gave dogs something to smell, their own urine. Then, their own urine secretly laced with a new odor, the scent version of a mark on the forehead. And the dogs got noticeably more interested. They sniffed their own altered scent longer than their plain scent, as if to say, wait, that's me, but something's off. They knew their own smell and noticed when it had been tampered with. Your dog may not know its own face, but it knows its own smell. As one researcher put it, a dog may not have a strong sense of I, but it clearly has a sense of mine. But recognizing your own body, by sight or by smell, is only the shallow end of knowing you exist. There's a deeper, weirder layer, knowing your own mind. Not just, that's my body, but these are my thoughts. This is what I know, and this is what I'm not sure about. That sounds impossibly human. Animals have been quietly acing tests of it anyway. Here's one. Give an animal a hard puzzle, say, judging whether a sound was long or short. Right answer, big reward. Wrong answer, nothing. But add a third option, a button to opt out. Skip this one, take a small, guaranteed prize, no risk. Here's the clever part. If the animal has no clue how sure it is, it'll opt out at random. But if it knows when it's confident and knows when it's confused, it'll power through the easy ones and bail on the ones it finds too hard. That's exactly what happens. Rhesus monkeys do it, dolphins do it, and even rats do it. When a rat isn't sure whether it heard a long tone or a short one, it declines the test and takes the safe option. Like a student wisely skipping a question they know they'd flunk. The rat, in some small way, knows what it doesn't know. Sit with that for a second. A rat. Our go-to word for something small and disposable appears to have a little inner voice checking its own confidence. That's not just being alive. That's monitoring your own mind. Which, honestly, is more than some of us manage before coffee. So here's where it all lands, and it's nowhere near where we started. Knowing you exist was never one single thing you either have or you don't. It's a spectrum, built in layers, from a basic sense of your own body, to recognizing yourself, to knowing your own thoughts. Different animals have different amounts of it, built from different senses, running on different brains. And it didn't evolve just once. Apes, dolphins, elephants, and magpies are separated by tens of millions of years and radically different brains, yet each landed on self-recognition independently. Scientists call that convergent evolution, nature inventing the same solution over and over. The common thread seems to be complex social life. When you live in a tangled web of relationships, tracking who's who owes what, who's watching, it helps enormously to carry a model of yourself. A sense of me may be the tool social animals evolved to navigate a world full of other minds. And then, there's the fish. In 2019, researchers tested a tiny reef fish called the cleaner wrasse. They marked it with a spot it could only detect in a mirror. And the fish tried to scrape that mark off its own body, then swam back to check the mirror again. By the strict rules of the test, a fish, a creature we barely credit with an inner life, appeared to recognize itself. Scientists are still fighting about what it means. Maybe it's real self-awareness in a fish. Maybe the test is flawed. But either way, it detonates the tidy story we began with. Because if a fish can do it, then the light of self-awareness isn't one lamp switched on in humans and a few clever mammals. It might be scattered all across the tree of life, flickering in far more minds and far stranger ones than we ever imagined. And this isn't fringe thinking anymore. It's now the mainstream scientific position. In 2012, a group of leading neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness, stating plainly that humans are not unique in having the brain hardware that generates conscious experience, and that many animals, including all mammals, birds, and even octopuses, have it too. Then in 2024, an even bolder statement, the New York Declaration, signed by dozens of scientists, went further. There is now, they said, a realistic possibility of conscious experience in essentially all vertebrates, including fish and reptiles, and in many invertebrates, octopuses, crabs, even insects.
Read that again.
Serious scientists now think there's a real chance that a bee or a crab has some flicker of experience, that there is something it is like to be them. So let's go back to the mirror one last time. You look and you know that's you, and it feels obvious and singular and uniquely yours. But the dog at your feet knows its own scent. The elephant knows the stranger in the glass is her. The rat knows when it isn't sure. The magpie, with entirely the wrong brain, knows to scratch the mark. Each one may be carrying its own version of that same quiet light, dimmer maybe, or built from smells instead of sights, or shaped in a way you could never quite picture from the inside. Which means the question we started with, do animals know they exist, was probably the wrong question all along. The better one, the stranger one, is this. How many completely different ways are there to be a someone? To be a self, looking out at the world? And the humbling answer seems to be a lot. You're not the only one who knows they're here. You're just one flavor of it, one lamp, in a forest absolutely full of lights. I'm curious what you think. Does your pet know it exists? And which animal on this list surprised you the most? Tell me down in the comments. Until next time, see you soon.